Okay, today I'm going to show you how to do our newest kit, the Rainbow Gemstone Lattice Wrap Kit. This one includes 6mm round gemstones in 7 different stones, and they come in the colors of the rainbow. There you go. And we're doing it with 1mm kangaroo is what's in the kit. We have our button. And the weaving string that we're going to be using today is Mini Mac. This is a sable colored Mini Mac. It's a little bit thicker than the microcord that we normally use to do this project because the holes in the 6mm gemstones are big enough to accommodate 2 to 3 of these cords easily. So I like to use a thicker cord if it'll fit inside the bead. It feels sturdier and your beads don't wiggle as much in the piece. Okay, so this is what's included in your kit: the 1mm kangaroo, 28 pieces of 6mm gemstone. There's 4 of each type of stone, and there's 7 different kinds of stones. So we have like our red jasper, tiger eye, yellow jade, green aventurine. We have our sodalite, lapis, and amethyst. So that'll be our rainbow. I think for this sample that I'm going to show you how to do, we're going to do a 2 bead kind of color block pattern. So like this. This one is just a single bead color alternating pattern. So we'll just make each section of the same color a little bit wider in this sample here. Okay. So to get started, it helps to kind of sort out your beads and lay them out in the order that you want. That way you don't have to think so hard about what order your beads are in. Okay, so let's just sort them here. The sodalite and the lapis do look very similar, but the sodalite has a lot more white speckling in it than the lapis, which is more of a solid blue. Okay. First thing we're going to do after sorting our beads is to string on our button, and we're going to center it on our kangaroo leather. Again, this is 1mm kangaroo. It is very, very strong. That's why we like to use this for our projects. It won't snap the way the other kinds of leather we used in the past used to. So it's really strong. It's good for making multi-wrap types of lattice wrap bracelets as well. So this was about 2.5 feet is what's included in the kit. So I'm just going to center my button on my leather and tie an overhand knot like this. And I want to get that knot fairly close to the back of the button. It doesn't have to be so tight that the button doesn't dangle freely. But you don't want to make a giant loop either, so it'll be nice and close to the back of the button. Then I'm going to get a scrap piece of cord. This is a scrap piece of leather here, and I'm going to clip that and use that to secure my piece to my Rex board here. So a Rex board is an office clipboard that has been modified nicely with a 2x4 that will raise this end of your project and allow you to get under your piece easily. And I'm going to secure the other end to my Rex board with a binder clip. I'm going to make the leather kind of tight and just clip it on the end like so. So now everything is ready to go. So I have a little bit of space, you can see, between the Rex board and my threads. Okay, now we're ready to start. I cut about 5 feet of this Mini Mac thread. Okay, you don't want to run out, although you can add additional thread to your piece as you go. If you do cut a little bit short, it's just easier if you can work with one long piece. So this is, again, about 5 feet of mini mac. And the first color that I'm going to start with is the red. Okay. So I'm going to string on my red bead here. And I'm going to center the red jasper on my thread. So you want it to go in the middle, like this. And I'm going to put my bead under the leather and pull one end of the mini mac through to the side. So you see now my 6mm bead is under my 2 pieces of leather. Okay, it's under. And I'm going to attach it to the leather by crossing my thread ends through the bead. Okay, so it's easier to do one end at a time. Crossing your threads through means going through the bead hole in opposite directions with the 2 ends of the thread like this. Okay, and then we're going to pull the slack out. So you notice that we have this little figure 8 here of thread, and the lobes are going around each piece of leather. Okay. And we're going to push the first bead all the way up till it's really close to the knot that is right next to the button, like this. And then we're going to push the 2 tails of the microcord, not the microcord, the mini mac, between the leather and out to the side. Sorry, I'm so used to doing this with microcord. I'm going to say thread from now. Okay, so right now the thread is under the leather and we're ready to add our next bead. So I'm going to do a second bead of the same stone. So this is a second bead of red jasper, and you're going to cross your threads through that and then pull tight like this. Okay, and then again we're going to take each piece of your thread and go between the 2 pieces of leather and out to the side, and then you pull tight. This. You want to pull all the slack out before moving on to the next bead. The leather being on top of the thread kind of holds it in place at this point. Okay, now we're going to switch colors. I'm going to go to the tiger eye. Okay, between the 2 pieces of leather and out to the sides, and pull tight. Okay, and this is all you have to do for the rest of the bracelet. Okay, so 28 of these 6mm beads, or all of the beads that we use in the kit, will end up with a beaded section that is about 7 inches in length. So keep that in mind when you're working on your project, because you may not need all of the beads. And the finished length can go up to over 8 inches because you can make this button loop long enough to fit your wrist here. Okay, now that I've finished my first set of 7 colors, I'm going to repeat starting with the red jasper again. Notice that as a thread gets shorter, it's a lot easier to work with. So the trick is not to start with an exceedingly long piece of thread. And if you're doing a multi-wrap style where you want to wrap it 3 or 4 times around your wrist, you're definitely going to have to learn how to add threads, add this working thread. It's not hard, and we do cover it in our lattice wrap video that is on our YouTube channel. Okay, so let's see how long our beaded section is. So far I have 4 more beads left in the kit, but I want to make sure that my piece isn't too big. So right now we're at about 6 inches of beads here. I'm going to do 2 more and then I'll finish off the project. So I'll leave out the last set of amethyst. Now when you're getting to the last bead of your project, you just want to check the hole and make sure that it looks like you can fit 3 pieces of the string or the thread through the hole, not just 2, because we're going to have to tie off our threads. Okay, so just be mindful of that. All of these holes are pretty big. I haven't seen too many that won't accommodate 3 strands, but you just want to be sure that the one that you're using as the last bead will accommodate 3 strands. Okay, so hopefully this one will. If this is going to be your last bead, you can cross your threads through like we did for the rest of the bracelet. Okay, but don't pull all the slack out just yet. We're going to need some play so we can work with this bead here. You do want to get the ends though underneath the leather. Okay, so let's get them under the leather like so. And now if we pulled tight, then all of the slack would disappear. But before we do that, I'm going to pull this bead up just a little bit and get one end of my thread and push it through the hole of the bead. So this is why we need to have 3 threads able to fit through here. Okay. And it looks like it will. Sometimes it's good to just catch the tip of the thread in the hole and then slide it over all of the threads that are going through the bead. Okay. And once you got the end coming out, then we can start to pull all the slack out. So you see that thread that I just fed through the bead is now looped around the leather. I'll pull that slack out there and make it nice and tight. Okay, and you'll want the threads to be on either side of the leather. So there's one on the top of the leather and one on the bottom. What we're going to do then is tie our threads together. So we're going to do half of a square knot to start with and tighten things up if it looks loose. And then we're going to tie, like when we're doing our stretchy cord, we're going to do a surgeon knot for the second half of the square knot. And for extra insurance, what I usually do is I will push one of the thread ends between the last 2 beads in the space between them. And come up from below the bracelet to this side of the bead. And then I'm going to tie one more set of knots. Okay, so I didn't do anything with this thread. I only worked with this one. We're just going to knot that together one more time. So the Mini Mac, the knot tends to be just a little bulkier than the microcord. If you were using microcord, you could probably tie 4 more sets of knots, but we don't want to do that with this because you can see the knots over there. It's not looking too bad though. And then we're going to want to use some hypo tube cement to seal the knot. If you prefer, you can cut and burn with a lighter or a thread zapper. I like glue. So we're just going to saturate the knot with glue. Okay. Saturate your knot with glue and then pull tight to kind of draw the glue into the knot. So our beaded section here is now about 6 3/4 inches. So our finished length will be close to 7.5 inches. Okay, we're going to use a cutter to cut away the extra thread. Don't cut your leather, just cut the thread. And then I'm going to take my bracelet off the board because I'm going to do the knots at the end of my leather. So we're going to start by doing an overhand knot, and we're going to aim right to the top of the bead. Like this. And this is overhand knot. Then we're going to tie a second overhand knot a little ways away from the first knot we did, and that will create the loop for the button. Okay. And this will determine the final length of your bracelet. So we just want to make that space large enough for your button to go through, which that is not. So this bracelet will fit up to an 8-inch wrist. You can trim away the excess leather here. And there we have it. It's done. It's the rainbow gemstone lattice wrap bracelet. I hope you'll try it and have fun with this project. So thanks for watching.